Today I thought I'd give you a rest from my ugly mug. I mentioned the circle of fifths in my last video, so what I thought we'd do is do an attempt to actually draw one up rather than spend 15 or whatever pounds it is on the internet to get one. And they are quite handy. So all we really particularly need to do is have two circles, one that we can rotate around that covers up the notes in particular order, and then that allows us to see all the major notes, all the minor notes, and the diminished seven that go in that scale. So fairly easy start is two circles. We'll do two fairly similar circles. Have to be fairly accurate because as we spin the wheel, the numbers, things have got to turn up in the places that they should turn up in. So let's get on with it. The first outer circle is going to be 72.5 millimeters. Yeah, 72 millimeters, 7 centimeters. That sounds about right. Yes, because it's 15. Yeah. So the radius is 72.5. Love doing halves. Okay. Don't know what we get to, so I'll do that fairly in the middle of the page because I'm going to have this one, I think. That's the base. Right. One on that one. And let's repeat it on this one. Now that's okay. So we have two identical circles, and we want to put a line in for T. Do we want to put a line in for T if we're going to rotate the first one? Not sure we do. What we want to do is we want to put in the bottom line of where the letters are actually going to sit, so we can sit our letters in there properly. And the letters sit on that line, so the letters sit on 60. Bottom of the top, yeah, excellent. So it's even in my notes, and I can't read my notes. So if we do another circle with a radius of 60 millimeters, that line is where all of our major chords are going to sit. So there we go. That is find a set square. That's around here somewhere. Right, and let's draw in a centre line. So that's roughly where we want to be. Bring you down. Sit you on a dot there. Slide you up so you cover the whole circle and nothing but the circle. There we go. And we can take a pencil and we can just do a very, very faint centre line. Same on that one. Squared up to the U on that. Put U up there. So we'll use the right hand there. Yeah, okay. Once again, just a line, centre. There we go. So we have a bit of both here now, both with a centre line. Now it's 12 even. I need to split it up 12. We can do lots and lots and lots of maths, but I happen to know if we do a gap of a straight line of 2 centimetres, I think it is, and then 15, and then 20 and 15. Was it 22? It's 22, isn't it? Yeah. On my previous one, 22. Here's one I tried earlier. That's what I'm going off of. So 22 is 11 either side of the centre line. And yes, I know it's a curve, so I know the length is actually longer than 22 mil. But as a straight line, this works. So 10, 11, 20, 21, 22. Any glasses. So that's that. So in here is where your first letter is going to sit, and we don't want it to go above a certain height. So 60, 75. Yeah, no, it can do that. It's the other circle. This one we've got to give it a bit of space so it covers it. Right. What we want to do now is actually start segmenting. I always like to kind of go around segmenting. So we find the centre point, which is handy because we've used a compass and there's a hole in the paper, and I'll mark, and we go from one side of the circle to the other side of the circle. There we go. In actual fact, I think we'll do a solid line down, and then that way find our, yeah, and then up to that. There we go. Right. So what we've got is we've got a space for our first letter, A, I guess would be it, and then down here you'd have a corresponding one. Somewhere around here I've got a rough bit of paper of my last attempt. Ta-da! This is what I'm now doing it with a ruler and pencil, because I made one earlier and the sizes were, it almost worked, but it didn't quite line up with the holes. So when I kind of turned it round, it wasn't working very well. But at least I've written down all of me and how it all relates and how it all works. So you'd have A up here and E down here. I'm going to do that now and not waffle, so we can speed it up. Right, so what we'll do is we'll stick the major chords in right now as the way it goes on a wheel, and I'll just go around. So the start, actually, so it's going to give ourselves a little gap at the top here. Right, right, okay, and that's just to kind of for a bit of neatness. So when I put the letter in, I'm not going right up to the top. I'm coming about 5 mil, well, a couple of mil away from it, but I am going right down to the bottom line. So A, if you rotate round this way, and there's my previous one. It goes A, E, B, G, flat, or F sharp, whichever way you want to call it, D, flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, C, G, D, and you now have a circle with all 12 notes on it. Excellent. What we now need to do is the minor chord positions. So we just want to put in some markers for that. And the spacing we want for that is the outer circle would be in the region of la. 55. Okay, 55 mil radius. And in we go, round and round we go. Stopping exactly where we started. And then how far down do we want to go? To there, which is 40, meaning life, 42. Round we go. And then that will be that box. Thank you. Okie dokie. So, if we scoot back round to A, now these letters are going to be upside down because of the way the wheel works. So if we turn that up that way and we start going back round the way we do it. So underneath the A is C minor. These are the minor chords, and then F, B flat, D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, B, E, A, D, just a normal G. And there's our minors. So what we need is our relevant minor. And that comes in at roughly there. So that is a 30 centimeter radius, 30 millimeter radius. I'm going to bring it down to 20. P. There you go. Alright, which means that's your window box. And there is your holes for your relative minor. And we go back to A. These things are actually written sideways to the A. So go that way. So there's my A. And we start with F. Is it just F? Yeah, F. And then A sharp. D sharp. G sharp. C sharp. F sharp. Sharp is what we need. Rinky dink. Where do we get to? F sharp. F sharp. And then F sharp is followed by a B. And then an E. A. D. G. And C being the last one. So there is your circle of fifths. What we now need to do is cover it up in the right ways so we only see what relates to a single key. And that comes on with this one. Now we could do lots of complicated maths, or I could just hold it up to the window and work out where things need to be. So we need 5 major boxes down here, 3 minor boxes here, and your relative minor there. So it will be that, 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 and that. It'll be that one, and that one. And it will be that one. So 2 seconds. All I'm doing is I'm just going up to the window. Actually, I think maybe. So what I'm doing is I'm holding up this to the brightest part of the window, lining my dots up. The centre line. Right. So I want my 5 major chords. There we go. That one there is my relative minor, and we want our 3 major minor chords here. there you go. So major chords, minor chords, and diminished. So wherever you rotate that round, that should show you the key up here and all the chords, minor and major, that go with it. So there's your wheel. There's nothing more to do on that. Now we have the positions for our O's. Rinky dink. Right. Sure, what I need to do is possibly cut some holes out. So if we write a few things under here though, because it actually tells you, helps you with chord progression as well. So obviously the one up here is position 1 because it's the key. Remember with our hands we did major, minor, minor, major, major. So major, minor, minor, major, major. That one being the last one, 6, and then your diminished is 7th. That is your diminished, no, whatever that is. And here is your relative minor, and these are all majors. Yes, and these are all minors. With that being a relative minor. So I think it might be a simple case to just cut these holes out and see what we've got. So there we go. I think we actually have a working wheel. We could make it all flash and do what I tried to do last time, which was kind of fold it into a thing, so you had a wheel, literally a wheel of fifths that you could then kind of rotate it round if it was all pinned together. At the moment, this is my second attempt and I've run out of patience and focus, so I'm doing it. I might turn these into something like that, stick these on a bit of card and make sure it turns around or something, but there we go. So that gives us all of your minor notes, your relative, your relative minor, your diminished, and then if we were to rotate it here, E, C, so let's go around to C, because C shouldn't have any sharps, should it? So let's keep going. Fun, 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 fun. Wherever we put the 1, there it is, there's the C. Right. Fantastic. No sharps. G, G, C, D, F diminished, E the relevant minor. It works. So there you go. Now if I quickly briefly run over what I did, and maybe with a bit more measurements, but then with a little bit of mathematics, it can be any size. It's only because this is going to kind of fit a 15 centimetres by 15 centimetres bit of card like that, so I could fold it over, and it was that size because that's exactly what half of A4 is. So I only had to cut one bit off of it, but yeah, didn't turn out to be so clever because I didn't do it very accurately and it didn't work out too well. So what I've done is I've divided the circle up into 12, well actually 24 spaces. Actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so 12 and 13, 25 spaces. I've done it by the outer circle being 72.5 millimeters. The inner circle that the letters sit on is 60 millimeters. This is radius, so 72 to here, 0.5, 60 to here. I then, in a straight line, measured, well, I took a centre line. It doesn't really matter where you put a centre line on a circle, if you just put, as long as you go from the centre straight out. And then it's 11 millimeters either side of that line. And so you've got your starter marks, and then it's 15 millimeters using a ruler, straight line. Don't try and measure the curve, literally from there. Start your ruler on there, and then you bend the ruler around, keeping the start on the start point until you hit the line at the 15 mil mark. Make a mark, put your thing back there, same thing, swing it round to get to 22 mil, make a mark. You then just line up that point with the centre and draw a straight line, and you go all the way around like I did, and you end up with 12 segments. And then we write down, can't tell you how this is calculated, I just copied it, but that's all you need to do. And remember that the letters below are upside down to the major, so the minor's upside down to the major, and then the diminished is sideways onto the major, and then it will come out and read all lovely like. There you go. So if you ever want, I'm in key of A, and I can play any of that lot and it will sound alright. Key of E, there's your chords, your major chords, your minor chords, and your diminished. Now the one I had a little bit here which told you whether what in that key how many flats or how many sharps there were, but you've got them written out anyway. I think the more important thing is the chord progression here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because that's predominantly what people talk in. So they'll talk about the first chord, the sixth chord, and the third. So in a progression, they'll kind of tell you that it's 1, 3, 5, which would be 1, 3, 5. And that may, that's it in E. But if you're playing it in D, you're 1, so you're D, F sharp minor, A major. If you're playing it in G, you're G, B minor, D major. So when people are talking to you, they'll talk about progression rather than key, because you can effectively play it in any key you want. Not that I've played with very many people, but that's it. Many people I've said, yeah, so we'll be doing we're in key, we'll be playing in A, and we're doing a progression of 1, 3, 5, and then you work out what the chords are on that. But this little thing does it for you. So I hope that was useful. Yeah, and I will see you in another video soon. Cheers, bye.